Old texts can ruin your week. Not because they're illegal or dramatic, but because screenshots don't care about context. A few venting messages to a coworker can turn into evidence later, and suddenly you're explaining a joke like it's a confession. Quick note before we start, this isn't legal advice. I'm not your attorney, and your situation is different from everyone else's. If you're dealing with something serious at work, talk to a qualified lawyer in your area and do your own research. All right, let's talk about the one thing that quietly ruins a ton of workplace problems before they even become a case. Old text messages. People treat text with coworkers like a safe little group chat, a place to vent, joke around, share off-the-record thoughts, maybe even plan something. But if your work situation ever turns into a dispute, those messages can become evidence. Screenshots get passed around, phones get searched, things you thought were private can end up in a folder with your name on it. So here are 4 texts you should never send to a coworker if you want to protect your job and protect your options later. And stick around for the last one because it's the easiest one to accidentally do, and it can cause the biggest headache. Text number 4, the awkward LOL reply. Here's the situation. A coworker or even a supervisor texts you something that crosses the line. Maybe it's a dirty joke. Maybe it's a comment about your personal life. Maybe it's a weird, "you look good today" message that makes your stomach drop a little. You don't want drama? You still have to see them tomorrow. So you do the polite thing. You hit them with LOL, or a laughing emoji, or a thumbs up. It feels like you're smoothing things over, but it can backfire. Because if that behavior keeps going, and later you need to show it was unwanted, your old responses can get used to paint a different story. They'll say, "Look, they were laughing. They were fine with it. They never told anyone to stop." So what do you do instead? If you feel safe addressing it directly, keep it simple. "Hey, I'm not comfortable with that. Please don't text me stuff like that." If you don't want a confrontation, the safest move is often to not respond at all. No emoji, no haha, nothing. Text number 3, "I'm looking for another job." This one sounds harmless because you're not telling your boss, you're telling a coworker. "Yeah, I'm applying elsewhere," or "I'm trying to get out of here," or even "I'm only staying until I find something better." The obvious risk is it gets back to your boss and suddenly you're labeled a flight risk. People start acting weird, you get iced out, your work starts getting handed off, you're treated like you already left. But there's another problem. If you ever end up in a situation where you need to explain why you left, texts like this can get used to suggest you were planning to leave anyway. Even if the job really was toxic. Even if you were pushed to the edge. A text from months earlier that says, "I'm looking around," can be twisted into, "See, they weren't forced. They were already job hunting." So keep your job search private. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you don't want a paper trail that can be interpreted however someone wants later. Text number 2, the trash talk text. We've all been there. You have a brutal day. Your manager is micromanaging. Someone throws you under the bus. A policy makes 0 sense. You're angry and you need to vent. So you text your coworker, "I can't stand my manager. He's an idiot. This place is a joke." In the moment, it feels like relief. 2 minutes later, you feel better. But screenshots live forever. And if things ever get messy at work, those messages can be used as a clean explanation for why you were disciplined or fired. Instead of the story being about what happened to you, it becomes about your attitude. "See, they were toxic. See, they were disrespectful. See, they hated leadership." So if you need to vent, don't do it in writing. Say it out loud to someone you trust outside of work. Go for a walk. Talk it out. Just don't hand your employer a ready-made excuse in screenshot form. Text number 1. "Can you bend the rules for me?" This is the one people do without even thinking. "Hey, I'm running 10 minutes late. Can you clock me in? I forgot to fill out the log. Can you just initial it? Can you cover for me if anyone asks?" It sounds small. It feels like teamwork, like a coworker favor. But what you're really doing is creating written proof of a policy violation. And even if it never mattered before, it can matter later. Because if a dispute happens, employers and their lawyers don't need a dramatic smoking gun. Sometimes they just need one message that makes you look like you broke a rule. And the frustrating part is, even if that isn't why you originally got in trouble, it can still be used to limit what you're able to claim later, or how seriously people take you. So here's the rule. Never put a policy violation in writing, not as a joke, not just this once, not everyone does it, not even Lowell. If you wouldn't want it printed out and handed to your boss, don't send it. One last reality check, nothing is truly private. A lot of people hear this and think, "Yeah, but my coworker would never show those texts." Maybe they wouldn't. But if there's a legal dispute or an HR investigation or a formal process where people are asked for communications, pressure changes everything. People protect themselves. People comply. People panic. So your best habit is this. Write every coworker text like it could be read out loud later by someone who doesn't like you and is trying to twist it. If that thought makes you cringe even a little, don't send it. All right, quick recap. Don't do the awkward LOL reply to inappropriate messages. Don't text coworkers that you're job hunting. Don't trash talk your boss in writing, and never ask someone to bend the rules for you over text. If this helped, like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.